Remington. Whoa! Remington. Whoa! Yes. Come here. Remington. Whoa!
This video was posted by the dog's owner, and she got a lot of backlash, saying mostly, how could you do this? This is such a big mistake, so dangerous. And obviously she knows that because her dog went to attack a pedestrian, a jogger, on a public...
I don't know that I even want to give her backlash. I think she's had enough of it. The main thing that I would want to talk about is really just kind of the dog body language and why it was missed. And some insight into how we could avoid that in the future.
Trail. So yes, it's super dangerous and a giant mistake. But what do you guys think about this? What would you like to know more about? And what do you think about an incident like this? What do you think about the dog doing something like this? What could the motivation possibly be? This is the kind of incident that is interesting to me because we have to think really in depth about what the dog's motivation is, and also what could we have done that could have caused this? Did we do anything that could have caused this? What does the dog's future look like going forward? And this dog is in protection sports training. I don't do protection sports, but I'm curious to see what my friends who do think of...
Remington. Whoa!
So I don't know why it cuts off right there, but so far thinking K9 has, I think we're kind of on the same page. Otherwise I would have just responded to the video itself, but I think she also kind of wants to talk a little bit about how we could have prevented this rather than just bashing her, because that's a lot of people just bash each other on TikTok, and I actually kind of want to help out. So let's start it again. And I want to point out some things about this dog's body language as we move along. Okay, so we're walking. The first thing I want to say is that this dog is already really on guard right now. Not only is the dog on guard, but this person is using a Flexi lead. And I don't want to say that I'm entirely against Flexi leads, because I do think that Flexi leads are great for recall, but I would not practice a recall in this type of environment, especially if I haven't really practiced recall to begin with. I don't know if this person has or not. I haven't really checked out their other videos. But if this person already has a really great recall and it's like that, you call your dog and they come to you like that, then fine. But generally speaking, I would not be using a Flexi lead and practicing a recall in an environment where there's this much people and this many dogs. Now, again, this dog is already really on guard and focused on the other dogs. This person does not have their dog's focus at all. So this is already super concerning to me, because when I'm working with a client, not just the dog, but the owner too, that's the first thing I stress is I want the dog's focus on you in an environment like this where there's a lot of people and there's a lot of dogs and animals. If their prey drive is on, it's going to get messy, and it's going to get really messy quickly. So, and if you don't know how to deal with that, someone's going to get hurt. So, all right, let's go ahead and continue a little bit more.
Yes.
Okay. So I want to point out that she says yes when the dog looks at her, but the dog only looks at her for a split second. And that's okay, because that's actually something that I stress. I'll say, mark that behavior. If you get your dog's focus for a split second, mark that behavior. But we didn't have continued focus. And the dog is way too far, in my opinion, to, again, because we're on a Flexi lead, to even mark that. So if I were training this dog right now, because this dog is too far from me and too on guard, I wouldn't have even bothered to mark that. So I think whatever trainer she's working with is maybe telling her, maybe they probably told her to mark that behavior, but in this context, that's not even worth marking, because the dog just kind of checked in, which is a good thing, but she didn't keep the dog's focus. And in this kind of environment, I really want to keep the dog's focus. So that being said, at this point, it's not clear what this dog's focus is on, but we know it's going to be this jogger right here, the jogger. So not the other dog, but the jogger that's coming up. and we got our back arched, okay, ears up. We're focused. We're pointing this way. Okay, so we are completely disengaged. We only engage for a split second and then disengage completely. Now, what do you do in that kind of situation? How do you get the dog's focus back onto you? If you, again, are practicing in this kind of environment, hopefully you wouldn't be practicing this when your dog is not ready for it, because I don't think this dog is ready for it. I stress that a lot in a lot of my training videos. If your dog is not ready for an environment like this, don't try it, or maybe try it for like 15 minutes, 10-15 minutes. Keep it really short and simple. But let's just say that we're in this position. Okay, maybe I'm trying to think of a scenario. Okay, maybe it's a client's dog, right? Maybe you're a dog walker, you're walking a client's dog, you don't know the dog very well. You start to see this happening. Now, how do you get this dog's focus back on you without them going to use their prey drive and go on to another dog or another jogger? My trick is I keep a little squeaker in my pocket. Okay, it's actually going to annoy all these other dogs too, but it's going to get everyone's focus off the jogger and back onto you. Usually works like a charm. Treats are not going to work in this kind of situation. So for those of you that think that positive reinforcement is all just about like giving treats all the time, you're wrong. Okay, so I keep a little squeaker in my pocket. I squeak the little squeaker, I get their focus, and they come running back to me. And then when they come back to me, then I might give them a treat. But I want to make sure it's pretty high value, because this is a pretty extreme environment. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and continue. I've done enough talking.
Remington. Whoa.
This video was
Okay. So we were a little too slow, right? So her voice was just kind of like Remington, and he already was just like gone. Like he had no interest in her. And even just saying anything to the jogger, right? Like, so if I were in that kind of position, maybe I had no control over the dog. If I'm in that kind of position, I might even say to the jogger, wait, hold on, please stop. Let me get control of my dog. Okay. And I've done that before in my dog walking days, before I actually got into dog training. You know, I would, if I see like a jogger going by and I don't know the dog, and I would just be like, hey, can you cross the street? Because I don't know this dog very well, and I'm worried he might go after you. And normally they're just like, hey, thank you. You know, it's not a big deal. This looks like Griffith Park or Runyon Canyon, something like that. I spent a long time in Los Angeles. I know the area. I know Runyon Canyon is very populated with dogs. I have mixed feelings about telling people to train there. I usually don't, for this reason, because you're going to bump into people like this there. And if you're not ready for it, again, someone's going to get hurt.
By the dog's owner, and she got a lot of backlash, saying mostly, how could you do this? This is such a big mistake, so dangerous. And obviously she knows that, because her dog went to attack a pedestrian, a jogger, on a public trail. So yes, it's super dangerous and a giant mistake. But what do you guys think about this? What would you like to know more about? And what do you think about an incident like this? What do you think about the dog doing something like this? What could the motivation possibly be? This is the kind of incident that is interesting to me, because we have to think really in depth about what the dog's motivation is, and also what could we have done that could have caused this?
So the motivation, I think, is just prey drive. I think this is the same as a squirrel. I think he wanted to get the jogger. He wanted to get the squirrel. He wants to get the bunny. It's the same. It's fast motion. And so, again, if you're not prepared to learn how to deal with prey drive, if you've never used like a flirt tool, or you've never, again, have a squeaky toy in your pocket, you know, if you don't have any of those readily available, then, you know, it's going to be quite a disaster. And I've made these mistakes, in the past, and not so much these days, but in my early, 20s or late 20s, when I was like first starting to work with dogs. yeah, I've made mistakes like this. Never used a Flexi lead though. I don't think I've ever really, I think someone gave me a Flexi lead once and I used it and I hated it. I think I only had it for like a few months and I really only used it for recalls, to practice recalls, but I didn't really use it on walks, especially not in Griffith Park. But yeah, I think really this is just about the dog's prey drive.
Did we do anything that could have caused this? What does the dog's future look like going forward? And this dog is in protection sports training. I don't do protection sports, but I'm curious to see what my friends who do think of
Remington.
Huh. Yeah. So, I don't know how she knows that. I don't know. That could just be some gossip. I don't know. If that is true, that makes a lot of sense, because when you do protection sports training, you are playing with their prey drive. You are activating their prey drive, right? You're getting their prey drive to work. When you do like bite work, right? That is, you're getting their prey drive to work in the nth 10,000th degree. Like, you know, so his prey drive is going to be in the nth 10,000th degree. Okay. So a dog's prey drive that is doing, protection training or sports training, that makes a lot of sense. The other thing I want to say about protection training, it often backfires. And so I'm not surprised. It backfires so often that usually these dogs will end up in the pound. And then they end up with a trainer like me, because somebody goes to the pound and they go to rescue the dog and they think they're real sweetie and they have no idea what they're getting themselves into. And then they come to me and we have to do a lot of behavior modification to get this kind of behavior out of the dog. I wouldn't say that I'm against protection training or sports training. I think I'm against it for the general public, because I've just seen this case so many times where, like, I'm kind of dumbfounded that a dog that is trained in protection training is on a Flexi lead. Like, that's wild to me. Like, you should not be handling a dog. If you have a dog that is trained for protection and you have a Flexi lead, you should not be in this industry, sweetheart. I know I said earlier that I wouldn't want to bash somebody, but I'm being honest about the field of protection training in general and not so much the person who owns this dog. Because, again, I've seen so much of this that I think it needs to be drawn attention to. So, South LA has a lot of protection training groups, and I know a lot of those guys. Not well, like, we're not friends. We don't like hang out and stuff. I know them. And I know the kind of style of training that they do. And a lot of them actually still do a lot of positive reinforcement. So it's not so much that the training itself isn't up to par. It's just that if you yourself, as a dog owner, as a dog trainer, you're not up to par. If you should be able to snap your fingers and your dog comes to your side immediately without a treat. Immediately. You say it once, your dog is there. That's how well trained your dog should be. This is not a well trained dog. So I don't know if that's just the program that she's in, but it's an issue. It's not working. So anyway, Thinking Canine, thank you for your insights. I hope you enjoyed my insights, and I hope everyone else watching this enjoys these insights as well. Thank you guys. Tune in next time.